You exist within you a force so primal, so powerful, so ancient as life itself.
That most men squander daily without even realizing it. An energy that moves mountains, builds empires, inspires masterpieces, generates fortunes, and transforms ordinary men into legends. But you let it slip through your fingers, literal, in moments of fragility, boredom, or escapism, and then you wonder why your life feels stagnant, why you lack motivation, why the sparkle in your eyes has faded, why people no longer feel that magnetic presence when you enter a room. The answer lies in how you handle the most creative force that exists within your body, your sexual energy. And in the next few minutes, you will discover what really happens when you finally decided to stop wasting it. Napoleon Hill didn't write about this by chance. He interviewed over 500 successful men over 2 decades and discovered an undeniable pattern. All of them, without exception, understood the power of sexual transmutation. They knew that the force that springs from the womb, that pulses in the veins, that inflames the blood, was not just a biological impulse destined for reproduction or momentary pleasure. It was pure fuel. It was the raw material of creation. It was the sacred fire that alchemists sought to transform into gold. And they learned to channel it, not repressing it, not denying it, but consciously directing it towards their goals, their visions, their missions. Meanwhile, you have been conditioned by modern society to believe that this energy is trivial, that it should be released whenever it arises, that suppressing it is harmful, that masturbation is healthy, that pornography is harmless. But you feel deep down in your soul that something is wrong. You feel the guilt, the emptiness, the lethargy that comes soon after. You feel your will to live diminish each time you give in to the orgy. Let's start with the first day. At the exact moment you decide not to ejaculate, something silent happens inside you. It's not dramatic, it's not visible, but it's profound. Your body, which was used to releasing this energy regularly, suddenly receives a different message: let's conserve, and it obeys. In the first few days, especially if you were trapped in a cycle of compulsive masturbation or constant consumption of pornography, your brain will react. It will ask, it will beg, it will create intrusive thoughts, seductive images, erotic memories, logical justifications for you to give in. Because it's addicted. Yes, addicted. With each ejaculation, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter of pleasure, in massive quantities. And just like any drug, it wants more. It wants the dose. It wants the chemical high that brings that temporary relief, that momentary escape from reality. But you, by choosing not to give in, are saying no to addiction. You are refusing to be a slave. You are beginning to awaken the inner warrior who was dormant under layers of conditioning and weakness. From the second to the fourth day, something biochemical begins to manifest. Your testosterone levels, which drop drastically after ejaculation, begin to stabilize. Scientific studies show that testosterone reaches a significant peak around the 7th day of abstinence, potentially increasing up to 45% above baseline levels. But before that, in the first few days, you may feel restlessness, anxiety, irritability. Your body is adjusting. It is learning to retain what was previously constant to released. And this energy, which previously escaped, now begins to circulate. It rises up the spine, nourishes the brain, activates dormant glands, awakens dull senses. The ancient Taoists called this cultivation of jinn, the vital essence. The yogis called it brahmacharya, the conservation of seminal energy. The alchemists spoke of the philosopher's stone. They all pointed to the same truth. When you retain this force, it doesn't disappear, it transforms. Around the fifth day, you begin to notice subtle but profound changes. Your gaze becomes more direct, more penetrating. People start to notice you differently, although they can't explain why. It's the magnetism, it's the presence, it's that indefinable quality that great leaders, visionary artists, and successful entrepreneurs have always had. Napoleon Hill called it sex appeal, but not in the vulgar sense that modern society attributes to the term. He spoke of an aura, a vibration, an energy that attracts opportunities, people, and favorable circumstances. When you conserve your sexual energy, you not only become more physically attractive, you become a magnetic presence. People want to be around you, they trust you. They feel that there is something special, something powerful emanating from you, even if they can't put it into words. From the 6th to the 8th day, the transformation intensifies. Your brain, and now, receiving this energy that is not being wasted, it begins to function differently. You notice that your mind is clearer, more focused, more creative. Ideas pop out of nowhere. Solutions to all problems appear spontaneously. That mental fog, that feeling of always being tired, that chronic procrastination begin to dissipate. And this isn't mystical, it's biological. When you ejaculate frequently, your body needs to divert precious resources to replenish the semen. Zinc, magnesium, proteins, essential amino acids, complex hormones, all of that needs to be synthesized and initiated again. It's an energetically expensive process, but when you retain, those resources become available for other vital functions, cellular repair, hormonal optimization, enhanced cognitive function, increased muscle strength, strengthened immune system. Your body literally becomes more efficient. But here's what most don't understand. It's not just about mechanical abstinence. It's not simply stopping masturbating and expecting magic to happen. If it were that simply, everyone who stops for a few days would experience the same results. But they don't. Because true transmutation requires awareness, requires intention, requires direction. You need to take that energy that is accumulating and deliberately channel it into something greater, into your work, your mission, your art, your workout, your relationships, your spiritual evolution. It's like taking a river and building a dam. Though water doesn't disappear, it accumulates, generates pressure, creates potential, and then you open the floodgates in the direction you choose. You direct the torrent to irrigate your fields, to generate electricity, to move turbines that produce concrete results in your life. Napoleon Hill discovered that the most successful men had something in common. They possessed what he called sex energy, and they knew how to transmute it into practical achievements. They weren't celibate necessarily, but they were extremely aware of when and how they used this energy. They didn't waste it casually. They didn't indulge in superficial impulses. They recognized that each ejaculation represented a choice, either release that force into nothingness, or conserve it and transform it into creative power. The great artists painted their masterpieces in this state of accumulated energy. The great writers wrote their immortal novels. The great entrepreneurs built their empires. The great athletes broke records. all using the same primal force that you have available right now, but that you may have wasted this morning, or last night, or every day this week. Reaching the 9th and 10th day, something profound happens in your psychological and spiritual field. You begin to notice patterns. You begin to see clearly how you used masturbation and pornography as escape mechanisms. Escape from what? From pain, from loneliness, from boredom, from anxiety, from fear, from all those uncomfortable feelings that you didn't want to face. Every time life got difficult, every time you felt rejected, every time a project failed, every time insecurity knocked on the door, you ran to that instant chemical pleasure that masturbation provided. But it was an escape, it was an anesthetic. Unlike every anesthetic, it only temporarily numbs the pain without healing the wound. Now, without this escape valve, you are forced to feel, to face, to go through the discomfort. And that's exactly where the real growth happens. It is in the tension, in the discomfort, in the accumulated pressure that the diamond is formed. Coal does not turn into a diamond in comfort, but under intense pressure. You also begin to realize how modern society is structured to constantly drain your energy. The free and unlimited pornography in the palm of your hand is not an accident, it is the scene. Algorithms programmed to keep you trapped, to suck your attention, to addict your brain to easy dopamine, because a man without sexual energy is a man without ambition. He is an easily controllable man. He is a man who accepts mediocrity. He is a man who does not question, who does not create, who does not lead, who does not rebel against unjust systems. But a man who conserves his sexual energy is dangerous to the status quo. He has fire in his eyes. He has a desire to conquer. He doesn't accept crumbs. He doesn't settle for less than he deserves. He doesn't allow himself to be manipulated. He becomes a creator, not a consumer. And the system doesn't want creators. It wants obedient and drained consumers. Look at your own life. How many times have you had a brilliant idea, an exciting project, a clear vision of what you could achieve, but then you masturbated, and all that energy, all that enthusiasm, all that motivation evaporated? Did you think it was just coincidence? It wasn't. It wasn't. It was direct cause and effect. The energy that should have fueled your vision was wasted in 5 minutes of empty pleasure, followed by hours of lethargy and regret. And the cycle repeated itself, day after day, week after week, year after year. And your life remained the same. Your finances, the same. Your relationships, the same. Your health, the same. Your personal fulfillment, the same. Because you kept feeding the wrong monster. What if I told you that the next 10 days could be the turning point of your existence? I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being sensationalist. I'm talking about a truth that has been suppressed, ridiculed, and distorted by modern culture, but that remains true since the beginning of humanity. Spartan warriors practiced abstinence before battles because they knew it increased their ferocity and focus. Tibetan monks have cultivated sexual energy for millennia as a path to spiritual enlightenment. Olympic athletes avoid sex before important competitions because they recognize the impact on performance. They all knew something that you are beginning to rediscover now. Your sexual energy is sacred. It's powerful. It's transformative. And wasting it is wasting your own life. But let me be clear about something crucial. This is not about repression. Repression is toxic. Repression creates neurosis. pathological guilt, denial of one's own nature. What we're talking about here is conscious transmutation. It's looking desire in the eyes, acknowledging it, honoring it, but not being enslaved by it. It's saying, I see you, I feel you, I respect you, but I choose to direct it towards something greater than instant gratification. It's transforming the wild impulse into disciplined strength. It's internal alchemy. It's taking the raw lead of compulsive desire and turning it into the refined gold of conscious purpose. And when you do that, when you really do that, you become unstoppable. Imagine waking up every day with vibrant energy coursing through your veins. Imagine looking at your goals with crystal clear clarity, without that constant mental fog. Imagine having the discipline to do what needs to be done, not because you force yourself, but because you naturally have the vitality and the will to execute. Imagine walking into a room and feeling people gravitating towards you, feeling your presence even before you speak. Imagine having creative ideas flowing naturally, solutions emerging spontaneously, deep insights appearing when you least expect it. Imagine having the energy to train intensely, to work productively, to love deeply, to live fully. This is not fantasy. This is what happens when you stop draining the source of your life force. Now, if what you are hearing is resonating with something deep inside of you, if you feel that someone is finally speaking the truth that you have always suspected, but no one had the courage to say, then do something for yourself now. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell, because this isn't just another superficial self-help channel repeating empty motivational cliches. Here we dive into the truths that society heeds, the knowledge that transforms lives, the practices that separate mediocre men from extraordinary men. If you want to continue this journey of awakening, if you want to master your energy, your mind, your destiny, then subscribe now, because the next videos will take you even deeper on this path of transmutation and personal power. Don't leave it for later. The time to start your transformation is now. During these first 10 days, you will also face what Carl Jung called the shadow, that part of you that you hide, that you deny, that you project onto others. Your deepest insecurities will emerge. Your most primitive fears will manifest. Your unhealed emotional wounds will ask for attention. And that's good. That's good. That's necessary. Because you can't transform what you don't recognize. You can't heal what you don't attach. You can't integrate what you keep denying. Pornography and compulsive masturbation worked as a smokescreen, hiding these deeper issues. Now, without that curtain, you need to look at them directly. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. It will be challenging. There will be times when you will want to give up, return to the old patterns, seek that familiar relief. But if you resist, if you break through, if you face your own shadow with courage, you will emerge on the other side as a completely different man. Because here is the deepest truth. Your sexual energy is a bridge between the physical and the spiritual. It is the point where matter meets consciousness. It is where the animal body meets the divine soul. And when you learn to honor both, to integrate both, to utilize this force consciously, you access a power that most modern men don't even know exists. You beg. This brings to mind what the ancients called the complete man, the integrated man, the man who has mastered his inner forces and can now direct them to create the reality he desires. Napoleon Hill observed that the richest men in the world were not necessarily the most intelligent, nor the most formally educated, nor those with the most initial opportunities. But they all had one thing in common: tremendous vital energy, an inner force that seemed inexhaustible, a burning passion for their goals, a persistence that baffled their competitors. And when he investigated more deeply, he discovered the source of this energy. They had learned, consciously or unconsciously, the art of sexual transmutation. They did not waste their vital force on cheap gratifications. They conserve it, conserve it, conserve it, conserve it, conserve it, towards their grand visions. And the universe responded. Doors opened, opportunities appeared. The right people emerged at the right time, because they were operating at a different vibrational level. By the 10th day, if you have truly dedicated yourself to this practice consciously, you will begin to experience what can only be described as an internal resurrection. It is as if you have been half dead for years and finally feel truly alive again. The colors seem more vivid, the sounds richer, the flavors more intense. Your sensitivity increases, your empathy expands, your connection with the world around you deepens. You begin to notice synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, as if the universe is conspiring in your favor. And perhaps it is, because you have stopped operating from lack and started operating from abundance. You have stopped desperately seeking external pleasure and started cultivating internal power. You have stopped being reactive and started being creative. And this fundamental shift in your vibration changes everything. But be warned, the first 10 days are just the beginning. It's the gateway, not the final destination. Many make the mistake of thinking that reaching the 7th day, when testosterone peaks, is enough. Then they ejaculate, thinking they will do this cyclically, but this is wasting the real potential of this practice, because the truly transformative benefits begin to appear after 30, 60, 90 days of consistent and conscious practice. This is when neural reprogramming consolidates. This is when new habits completely replace old ones. This is when you naturally become that elevated version of yourself, without constant effort, without daily struggle. It becomes your new identity. During these first 10 days, you also need to take care of how you spend your energy in other ways. It is no use conserving sexual energy if you waste mental energy on compulsive social media, sterile discussions, sensationalist news, empty entertainment. It is no use conserving physical energy if you eat junk, don't sleep properly, live a sedentary life. Everything is connected. Your body is an integrated system. When you elevate one area, all the others need to follow. That's why true sexual transmutation always comes with a holistic transformation, better diet, regular exercise, spiritual practices, uplifting reading, conscious relationships. You are not just stopping masturbation. You are choosing to live at a higher level of existence. And here is something that few talk about. Sexual transmutation also transforms your relationships. When you stop using pornography, you stop objectifying women. You start to see them as complex and complete human beings, not as fantasy objects. When you conserve your sexual energy, you become more selective. You don't accept any relationship just for sex. You seek genuine connection, real intimacy, meaningful partnership. And when you are finally with someone, sex becomes something completely different. It is no longer a mechanical act of releasing tension. It becomes a sacred dance of energies, a deep union of souls, a transcendent experience, because you are present, not lost in pornographic fantasies. You are connected, not dissociated. You are giving and receiving energy consciously, not just using the other body as a tool for gratification. In the first 10 days, you will also notice visible physical changes. Your skin may start to clear up, become more luminous. Your eyes lose that tired and dead look, gaining brightness and depth. Your voice may become deeper, more resonant. Your posture improves naturally because you are carrying more energy. Your walk changes, becoming more confident, more grounded. People will ask if you have started doing something different, if you are taking any supplements, if you are in love. And in a way, you are in love with life again. You are rediscovering the pleasure of zero to be alive, not through artificial stimuli, but through the natural vitality that arises when you stop draining your life force. But let me talk about the dark side too, because it would be dishonest not to mention it. During these first 10 days, especially between the third and sixth day, you may experience what is popularly called a flatline, a period where your libido disappears completely. You may feel anxiety, irritability, insomnia, headaches, emotional instability. This is your brain recalibrating, healing from dopamine addiction, rebalancing its neurotransmitters. It's uncomfortable, but it's temporary. It's a sign that your nervous system is restoring itself. It's not a reason to give up. It's a reason to persist. It's the darkness before dawn. It's the death of the old before the birth of the new. And if you cross this dark valley without giving in, you will emerge on the other side with a strength you didn't even know you possessed. At the end of these 10 days, you will be faced with a choice. You can return to the old patterns, convinced that you are now cured and can control better, only to discover that addiction awaits you with open jaws, ready to devour you again. Or you can decide that this is just the beginning of a much deeper journey, a journey of complete mastery over your internal energies, a journey towards the highest, most powerful, most fulfilled version of yourself. And if you choose the second path, if you truly commit to this transformation, then everything in your life will change, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed. And when you change, the world around you has no choice but to respond accordingly. Napoleon Hill had a student who was addicted to pornography and compulsive masturbation. This man had tried to build a business several times and always failed. He had brilliant ideas but could never execute them. He lived tired, unmotivated, trapped in a cycle of procrastination and self-sabotage. Hill immediately identified the problem. He was wasting his sexual energy daily, sometimes multiple times a day. Hill challenged him to practice complete abstinence for 30 days, while directing all that energy into building his business. In the first 10 days, the man struggled intensely, but he persisted. And something extraordinary happened. On the 11th day, he had a sudden clarity about exactly what he needed to do in his business. In the following days, he executed with an energy and focus he had never experienced before. At the end of the 30 days, he had built more than he had built in the last 3 years combined, and he never returned to the old patterns. He had discovered the secret, because here's the ultimate truth. You don't need more time, more money, more opportunities, more luck. You need more energy, and you already have that energy. It's inside you right now, being constantly produced by the miracle of your body. The question is, are you going to continue wasting it on empty pleasures and temporary escapes? Or are you going to start consciously channeling it to build the life you always knew you were capable of living? Because that choice, that simply but profound choice, determines everything. It determines your financial success, your relationships, your health, your personal fulfillment, your legacy. It determines whether you will die with your dreams intact and unfulfilled, or whether you will die exhausted but satisfied, knowing that you gave your all, that you became everything you could become, that you did not waste the precious gift of life. The next 10 days may be the beginning of this journey, not the next 10 days sometime in the future. The next 10 days starting now, today, this moment, because every great journey begins with a single step. Every radical transformation begins with a simple decision. And you, at this very moment, have before you the opportunity to make that choice, to finally stop being a slave to your impulses and start being master of your energy, to stop living a life of silent mediocrity and start building something extraordinary, to stop looking outside for what has always been inside. The power is in you. It always has been. You were just wasting it. But now you know, and knowing is just the first step. The second step is to act, and the third is to persist. And if you take these 3 steps, consciously, courageously, consistently, then everything changes. You awaken the sleeping giant within you. You become the force of nature you always had the potential to be. You transform your life from the inside out. And when you do that, when you really do that, you not only change your own life, you become a beacon for others who are still lost in the darkness. You become living proof that transmutation is real, that mastery over oneself is possible, that our original, extraordinaria vida está disponible para cualquier dispuesto a pagar opreso. Opreso no es sacrificio doloroso. Opreso es simplesmente parar de desperdiciar o que já é seu. Parar de jogar fora o combustível que poderia levar você às estrelas. Parar de escolher segundos de prazer sobre décadas de realização. Essa é a escola, e ela está diante de você agora, não amanhã, não na próxima semana, agora. O que você vai decidir. Literal translation. Extraordinary life is available to anyone willing to pay the price. And the price is not painful sacrifice. The price is simply to stop wasting what is already yours. Stop throwing away the fuel that could take you to the stars, or choosing seconds of pleasure over decades of achievement. That is the choice, and it is before you now, not tomorrow, not next week. Now, what are you going to decide? Culturally adapted translation. An extraordinary life is available to anyone willing to pay the price. And the price isn't some painful sacrifice. The price is simply stopping the waste of what you already possess. Stop throwing away the fuel that could launch you into the stratosphere. Stop choosing fleeting moments of pleasure over decades of fulfillment. That's the choice. And it's right in front of you, right now, not tomorrow, not next week. Now, what are you going to decide? Explanation of changes. Asterisk stratosphere was used instead of stars. While stars is evocative, stratosphere is a slightly more relatable and grounded metaphor for exceptional achievement. Stratosphere is used idiomatically to mean extreme heights of success. Asterisk fleeting moments was used to amplify the idea of seconds of pleasure, more vivid to the English speaker. Asterisk, the phrase right in front of you, is more conversational and common than before you in this context. Asterisk, the phrasing was tightened up for flow and naturalness in English. Asterisk replaced extraordinaria vida with an extraordinary life. For proper grammar in English,